by this Manectric and KO'd. So, kind of a safe place to put a Volt Switch and get some damage on whatever comes in, and then get Manectric back off the field.
Gengar switches out. Hitmontop is going to be the one switching in here. It is going to use its Intimidate ability to get another Intimidate down on that Braviary, but of course it's not going to matter because the Defiant ability going to essentially bring Braviary back up to, full, a neutral attack stat, as Manectric using Snarl going to try to reduce the amount of damage that this Volcarona can do. Dropping its special attack stat by one stage. Volcarona is going to be able to move here, should be able to get the KO on that Braviary. Braviary, there's still one turn of Tailwind left, and Braviary using Brave Bird here. It is going to hit into that Volcarona slot, and that should be the KO at that point, and that is.
Yeah, and don't even have to worry about Flame Body because you've already took that poison, but that recoil should be enough to just get that KO.
But, I mean, if you think about it, Braviary's done a pretty good job right now. Got rid of the Volcarona. Of course, Braviary would have enjoyed facing down against that Hitmontop, but, Joseph might have stuff in the back in order to deal with that Hitmontop as well.
Yeah, it kind of traded itself with Volcarona, but at the same time whittled that Gengar down to such low HP, really remove that immediate offensive threat that the lead Gengar can have.
Yep, Tapu Fini going to take the floor now, and of course Tapu Fini is going to bring out that Misty Terrain, and Tapu Fini does have a decent matchup versus that Hitmontop. Can hit into it with a powerful Moonblast. Sand is actually going to expire in the next turn, I believe. So this Tyranitar coming in without being able to reset the Sand means that it might have to switch out if it wants to maintain, its Sand boost.
Yeah, it doesn't have that great of a matchup here. Tapu Fini, while not going to be doing too much damage, it's still pretty good damage output for what Tapu Fini is. And meanwhile, Tyranitar is really not going to be doing too much back. If it does have some setup move, if it is another option to be paired with that Gengar and has something like that Dragon Dance and could start setting up that way, could become a much bigger threat. But right now, it just doesn't seem like too much of a problem, especially with Virizion coming on the field.
Virizion takes the field. It is the shiny Virizion. I have not seen that in forever. Hitmontop using Fake Out, going to make that Virizion flinch, but it's not going to matter because it's not moving. And here comes a Haze. Going to go ahead and reset all stat changes right there. Tyranitar using Rock Slide, not opting to go for a possible Dragon Dance, but looking at that hit point stat, that Tyranitar is going to be a much bulkier variant. Not very effective damage over on that Virizion, but there it is. The Sandstorm subsides, so this Moonblast can do significant amounts of damage to that Tyranitar.
Yeah, that Moonblast is going to be coming out as a big threat. The only possible switch in is Gengar, which of course at 9 HP would also just go down to that Moonblast, so a very vulnerable spot there for Tyranitar. Hitmontop's not going to really be able to do much to get Tapu Fini off the field either. Maybe Gengar can come in the Hitmontop slot while Tyranitar protects itself. There's kind of a way to play out of this, but otherwise right now that Tyranitar spot seems so vulnerable, especially because you also have Virizion could be threatening close combats.
Leaf Blades even.
Leaf Blades, because the close combat might give Gengar a free opportunity in, but Leaf Blades still a lot of damage and removes that opportunity for Gengar to come. It's pretty easy to put damage in both slots, and that way you just know Gengar can never come in. You just have to deal with these two Pokemon for now.
Tyranitar switching out. At least Matthew will be able to get 5 more turns of Sand to help combat that Tapu Fini. Gengar comes in, but of course that might just get KO'd, but Virizion protects itself, not wanting to risk itself to put any damage out. Hitmontop using Wide Guard, going to try to protect its team from any muddy waters, as Tapu Fini just instead goes for the Moonblast here, lands into that Hitmontop slot. So Gengar is going to be out on the field. It does have access to Sludge Bomb, which can do a lot of damage to Tapu Fini and that Virizion. So, Matthew right there getting away with a free switch in on that Gengar slot.
Yeah, I think that was a really good turn for Matthew. A very risky turn. He was maybe looking for the Muddy Water to come out, ends up getting the Moonblast coming out towards Hitmontop while Virizion protects itself, and so Gengar at 9 HP manages to find a way to sneak its way back on the field while getting Tyranitar back into the back to put that Sand out. Like you said, that Gengar is going to be such a big offensive threat now. It's really going to provide the speed combined with offense to keep one of these Pokemon from attacking on different turns to actually kind of give Matthew the staying power. Both these Pokemon are outspeeding that Tyranitar and Hitmontop on Matthew's side. He just doesn't have the staying power to get enough damage off, and so that's why that Gengar is so important here. But of course, if you just Sludge Bomb into a Protect while the other of the two Pokemon KOs Gengar, you've gained nothing. So still a kind of risky situation here. Wouldn't be surprised to see Matthew try to pivot even further to get a safer play for a Sludge Bomb, one that doesn't require the prediction.
Straight up Sludge Bomb here from that Gengar, hits in that Virizion slot, gets the one-hit KO, so that Virizion would have been a great answer to that Tyranitar. It's going to come down to whether or not that Tapu Fini and the... Oh, here comes a Hydro Vortex, going to be targeting down. Just trying to get a KO somewhere.
Yeah, I think it's into Gengar, maybe looking for Gengar to protect.
Or Tyranitar switch, too.
Or a Tyranitar switch, but if Gengar had been protecting itself this turn, you would have gotten the KO either way. This way, you don't see too much value in that Hydro Vortex now because you think you're pretty comfortably ahead with Tyranitar versus Tapu Fini to close out this game. We'll have to see if that's
and the
right
Manectric
decision.
Back.
Yeah.
Him on top revealing that it has Stone Edge, going to connect on that Tapu Fini with a critical hit, not doing much damage at all. Him on top, of course, probably trained to be bulky in order to continue switching to provide Intimidate support. Tyranitar going to take the field again, and Manectric is going to take the field again. Going to be a big Intimidate from this Mega Manectric on this Tyranitar and that Him on top over on Matthew's side.
Yeah, really valuable Intimidate, but that Tapu Fini is starting to look a little unhealthy. Manectric's not going to have the offense to take down Tyranitar itself at all. It's going to need to be that Tapu Fini offense. Don't have the Z move available anymore. If Tapu Fini goes down while Tyranitar's even remotely healthy, it's going to be really tough for Selmer. I think that last turn, Matthew decided to take that Sludge Bomb into the Virizion slot. It had protected on the previous turn. That means you're either hitting the Manectric or the Virizion, just trying to get some KO. It's going to be much better for him because it did KO that Virizion, though, because that means the Tyranitar is much safer.
Tapu Fini protecting itself, not going to want to get KO'd just yet. Manectric trying to throw out some chip damage in that Hitmontop slot and does not get the KO. Hitmontop using close combat into that Tapu Fini slot, not going to take damage at all, and Tyranitar going for a double up into that Tapu Fini. So Matthew really, realizing what the biggest target is, it's going to be that Tapu Fini because that Tapu Fini does super effective damage to both Hitmontop and Tyranitar.
Yeah, just recognizing that Manectric on its own versus Tyranitar is such a separated matchup. Tyranitar wins that by so much that if you can just get this Tapu Fini off the field before Tyranitar takes too many Moon Blasts, then you're set. But you've got to hit an attack on this Tapu Fini, and Manectric's now going to be able to outspeed with that Volt Switch.
Yeah, and Hitmontop continues to use Wide Guard here, probably just maybe protecting itself from possible Muddy Water from later on. Volt Switch lands in that Hitmontop slot, finally gets the KO on that Hitmontop as Tapu Fini using Moonblast, so that Hitmontop Wide Guard was essentially for nothing. This is going to be big as to how much damage it can do. Does 50%, that's good damage right there. As the Tyranitar goes for the crunch, it is going to get the KO on that Tapu Fini, so now is Manectric going to be able to survive maybe like 2 attacks and be able to do enough damage. One thing that Joseph might want to try to do is maybe stall out that Sandstorm in order to get more damage out.
Yeah, you definitely want to try to stall out the sand. The other thing to worry about is if there's a berry on that Tyranitar and that first Volt Switch, all it does is just activate the berry. It really becomes unwinnable. So it's going to be an important piece of information for Joseph to know what that Tyranitar is holding. Likely not a Mega Stone, since we do have that Mega Gengar that plays such a key role on this team.
Manectric now protecting itself. It could also be a Black Hole Eclipse Tyranitar, but Tyranitar just content to go for another crunch. So, Joseph is realizing he does have to try to stall out the sand in order, but time is also running out on his side too. There's so many factors going on right now.
Yeah, Black Hole Eclipse also bad news for Joseph because it would just probably KO Manectric from the south.
And the Volt Switch does nothing at all. Tyranitar using crunch onto that Mega Manectric slot. It is intimidated. Manectric barely hangs on with just a sliver of health.
This may have been perfect.
Yeah.
That Volt Switch doing just the right damage should not have activated the berry if it is there, but it means when that sand is gone, it should do enough more damage to get the KO. I think it's going to be really
and
close.
Manectric now protecting itself. This should be the last turn of sand, and this is so close right now, and there is no Black Hole Eclipse coming out from that Tyranitar, which is going to be good information for Joseph to have, and the Sandstorm does expire, and now this Volt Switch is going to be able to get the KO on this Tyranitar.
One more turn of sand damage would have been the KO on Manectric. We're going to have to see. It's going to be close.
Volt Switch lands in that Tyranitar slot.
1 HP!
1 hit point. What? And Tyranitar goes for the crunch and gets the KO. Literally 1 hit point.
Wow, that Manectric hang on with so little health after that last turn of sand, and then Tyranitar at 1 HP.
Wow. Round 1 is so exciting. I'm glad I chose this match to commentate, Len.
Yeah, I think Joseph just played that in-game really well. He knew he had to get that sand damage out of the way, knew he needed to get at least one big Moonblast off on that Tyranitar while buying enough time to make sure Manectric had dealt with Hitmontop and then had a chance to get a couple attacks onto Tyranitar, but it just wasn't enough, just barely wasn't enough. Giving up that Virizion and losing one of his 2 big offensive threats against that Tyranitar ended up being too much.
Yeah, here we go now into team preview. We didn't really get to go over the teams that much coming into this first game, but Matthew, again, running a very defensive Kommo-o team. Over on Joseph's side, he is going to be running a very standard, 4 Pokemon are kind of standard, then you got Virizion and Braviary. But going back to it, one thing that was big in Game 1 was just that Virizion protected that turn that Gengar came in. And that essentially sacrificed that Virizion. And that was such a huge sacrifice of board position for Joseph.
Yeah, not only did it allow Gengar to come in for free, it meant because that Virizion protected on the previous turn.
Couldn't protect?
Yeah, Gengar was free to Sludge Bomb and get that really important KO. It's amazing how just little things like that, it seems like it was just keeping Virizion safe for a turn. from like a close combat maybe. Just
got
to sting you.
punished. Here we are now jumping into Game 2. Joseph Selmer losing in a nail-biter in Game 1 to Matthew Greaves. Just 1 hit point, and looks like Kommo-o is going to be taking the field non-shiny. Thank you very much. As Braviary and Virizion are the same leads that Joseph decides to go. So Joseph really realizing, these are okay Pokemon to be facing off. Braviary has a pretty good matchup right now as it gets the Defiant boost, and it can just go for Brave Birds.
Braviary is awesome here. It's got a +1 attack, has super effective Brave Bird against both of these Pokemon, threatening so much damage, threatening a Tailwind if you try to pivot to something like Gengar. It's in a really great position here. Joseph deciding to just stick with what barely didn't end up working last time. Matthew completely changes it up and walks into a terrible matchup for himself.
I mean,
the Fake Out plus Z move is still there.
So you can still go for that option. Nectrix Intimidate is going to land into the Kommo-o and that Hitmontop. As Hitmontop using Fake Out, going to hit into that Braviary slot to make sure that it cannot get, off a very powerful Brave Bird. As Nectrix using Volt Switch here, allowing Joseph to kind of pivot here. Kommo-o does have a very high defensive stat, but +1 Brave Bird from a Braviary, that's going to be massive damage. Tapu Fini switches in right here, going to be able to provide a fairy immunity to mitigate the amount of damage that Clangor Soul Blaze can do.
Will it matter? The Braviary didn't protect itself. It's going to take this Z move.
Oh, wow. All right, Kommo-o.
Not what we expected.
Not at all. Whoa. All right, this is a Belly Drum Kommo-o. No healing just yet, so not even a Citrus Berry to allow Kommo-o to... all right.
Yeah, that's a really interesting play. It means that, for one thing, I was already talking about that damage coming out towards Braviary that doesn't happen when you go for the Belly Drum instead of for that Clangorous Soul Blaze. Also means Kommo-o doesn't have any speed boosts yet. We did see the flinch message, I believe, before the Belly Drum came out. So that means that Brave Bird is free to come into Kommo-o. Hitmontop already faked out. Nothing it can do about it this turn. Tapu Fini also in there comfortable against both of these Pokemon. It's maybe difficult for Kommo-o to get any attack off. It's going to need to protect and be this switch.
And Volcarona is a Pokemon that can easily do it, but it could also just take a possible Brave Bird to the face from this Braviary. No protect at all. What is going on right here? Brave Bird from the Braviary going to land in that Kommo-o slot and get the KO. So that Kommo-o sacrificed all of its health just to get KO'd from a critical hit. Gravy on top as Braviary takes some damage from recoil. Tapu Fini just just being a bit safer, going for a haze, just making sure nothing bad can even happen.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Kommo-o not having Protect there, maybe just knowing the haze was going to come out and not trying to save the Kommo-o anyway, just ends up not being the play he needs. The lack of the speed boost was really the problem there. If it had some damage and then speed boost to threaten more damage before going down, but instead loses the Kommo-o for basically nothing, for just having flinched this Braviary, and you've still sitting there at +1 attack, and Hitmontop in the back. If you're forced to bring Hitmontop in for any reason, you're just giving another attack boost to this Braviary. Really a dangerous position here.
Yeah, we haven't seen what Volcarona can do just yet. Volcarona does have a pretty decent offensive option. Fire Z Overheat does so much damage even without a Sun Boost. So, Matthew still has a lot of damage output possible from his side.
Yeah, Gengar, is still a big threat here. Going to be that Sludge Bomb towards Braviary without that Snarl weakening. It should be lots of damage. And, of course, that super effective damage on Tapu Fini. It's going to be close to the one-hit KO depending on how Tapu Fini is trained.
Yeah, exactly. Mega Gengar is going to Mega Evolve. It is going to get its Shadow Tag ability out. Going to lock these Pokemon in. Sludge Bomb does so much damage, it does not get the one-hit KO on Tapu Fini. Close, though. Braviary using Braver. This Braviary is really fast here. It outsped that Volcarona, and Volcarona is actually pretty speedy Pokemon, and that is another one-hit KO on that Volcarona. So it's going to come down to Gengar and the Hitmontop, but this is probably just a Hydro Vortex coming in this Gengar slot right now.
Yeah, if that KO's Gengar, then Hitmontop has to come in, give the Braviary another attack, and then just get outsped in Brave Bird. This is going to be a pretty short game here.
Yeah, so Matthew playing... I know we mentioned that he does play a defensive style, but this is not really something that I see from him in order to go for, Belly Drum Kommo-os or just not that many pivots, right? I feel like Matthew is known to be able to switch so well. But there's not much switching that he can do, because if he switches out of Hitmontop, it's just going to give it another Braviary Defiant boost, and here it is, another Braviary Defiant boost.
Yeah, this game is over now, right? You have both of these Pokemon outspeeding Hitmontop. The Moonblast probably wouldn't one-hit KO, but that Brave Bird definitely will. So we're going to be having to...
back to the drawing board.
Yeah, back to Game 3.
What was that Kommo-o trying to do, and does Matthew have away in order to protect that Kommo-o just a little bit better. It's tough. I mean, you're staring down Braviary, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's what he necessarily needs to be going after. If it does have that Klingler Soul plays, the speed boost could be really useful. But if you're just looking at that belly drum, getting the attack up, when you're going to then be against Tapu Fini, be against this Braviary that you know outspeeds that Kommo-o, I'm just not sure Kommo-o is the tool that Matthew needs. I would
maybe expecting Joseph to try to change it up a little bit after losing game 1. So here we are now, coming into game 3 between these two trainers. Matthew Greaves barely stealing that game away from Joseph in game 1, and then Joseph pretty much showing that he's here to play in game 2.
Yeah, I mean, just dominating game 2, taking advantage of some maybe questionable decisions in field position from Matthew, and really making the most of them to make that game not close at all in game 2.
Now, jumping back into team preview, both players now, winner of this moves on to the next round, 1-0. Loser, you never really want to start 0-1. It's so unfortunate when a player starts 0-1. It's kind of disheartening, but you're still in it. So it looks like Joseph has already locked in his moves, and here we go, now jumping into game 3 between these two players. Of course, Joseph just recently came off of a top cut over in Costa Mesa. Matthew Greaves, like we've already mentioned, one of the best players in Utah. One of the best players overall. I mean, he just has such a cool play style. Being able to find all these Pokemon and finding these slightly more obscure sets. And Joseph going to change it up. Virizion and the Manectric leads for him, and Tyranitar and Volcarona are the leads that Matthew decides to go with.
Yeah, Matthew changing it up again, and Joseph changing it up for the first time, getting Virizion here on the field immediately. Good to have it in against that Tyranitar. Volcarona, though, is going to be definitely scaring it out. Snarl can come in from that Manectric to weaken what Volcarona is doing, but I don't think there's ever a point at which Virizion feels super comfortable in against Volcarona.
Could have Stone Edge, though. Could have Stone Edge to possibly hit that Volcarona slot. Gengar is going to take the field for that Tyranitar. Mega Manectric is going to take the field. This Intimidate's not going to matter at all.
Tyranitar fleeing to the back before it gets intimidated. Instead, the Intimidate's going to land into Gengar and Volcarona, two Pokemon who really don't mind.
Yep. And, well, where is this attack from Virizion going to go? Is it going to land in that Gengar slot, or is it going to land in that Volcarona slot? It's not going to be doing that much damage regardless, unless it's a Stone Edge. Volcarona protects itself. Manectric revealing Snarl, that is going to hit Gengar in its non-Mega form. That is going to be doing a little bit more damage because it's not as bulky. Going to drop that special attack stat. That's going to be big. Might allow Virizion to survive a Sludge Bomb, and Virizion does reveal that it does have Stone Edge, so that Volcarona has to be careful. Yeah,
Volcarona definitely has to be careful. Doesn't want to take a Stone Edge. Now has to also worry about Sludge Bombs coming in towards that Virizion, though. At -1 special attack, because of that Snarl, may not actually be able to pick up the KO on this Virizion, depending on how it's trained, especially since that second Snarl can come out before Gengar attacks, and you're looking at -2 special attack there, -1 special attack for the Volcarona. That's a kind of a rough switch to have to make to bring your regular Gengar in, fully expecting that Snarl to come out. But you kind of have the choice between the Tyranitar ending up intimidated on the field and against Virizion, or the Gengar ending up snarled on the field but against Virizion, and you'd much rather have the Gengar.
Wow, this is a tough spot for Matthew. He's had to do so much switching. Virizion switches out now because the Gengar is not Mega Evolved. Braviary takes the field, a very patriotic Pokemon that I am so happy to see right now. Volcarona is going to switch as well. Tapu Bulu is going to take the field. Not the best matchup for that Tapu Bulu versus that Braviary, just possibly taking a Brave Bird right into it. Very super effective damage as Gengar finally gets the chance to Mega Evolve here. Finally getting that Shadow Tag ability out, but of course Mega Manectric can just switch out with that Volt Switch ability, which is proven to be so big. And that's one of the reasons why Manectric is so key in this matchup. Gengar protects itself, though. Not going to want to take another Snarl. Just really trying to maintain its damage output. As Manectric stays in, goes for the Snarl. Not going to matter too much on that Tapu Bulu.
Yeah, I kind of wonder if Joseph was looking for the Hitmontop switch where Bulu ended up coming in. Could have tried to come in for that Stone Edge. You would have got a free Defiant boost off of Green.
Yeah, that would have been a very smart switch right there, especially the way that the Pokemon are training. The Braviary is going to be switching out, or the Virizion was going to be switching out before that Volcarona.
Right, so that Braviary would have ended up on the field to get intimidated instead. Tapu Bulu comes in, still weak to that Brave Bird. At least you haven't given an attack boost to that Braviary, though. It's been really cool how Braviary's been so strong in so many different field positions, Matthew, with kind of that triple flying weakness. Not a weakness you think of too often as being a big problem, but in this matchup, it's really coming to bite him. He's having trouble getting Pokemon on the field that can kind of safely deal with this Braviary. especially because that Manectric is there to snarl and weaken what this Gengar can do, which otherwise would be pretty good at pulling Braviary off the field.
Braviary, going to protect itself, does not want to take a Sludge Bomb, as Tapu Bulu also protects itself, does not want to take a Brave Bird. It's going to come down to this Gengar and this Manectric here. Manectric using Overheat into that Tapu Bulu slot. That would have been done so much damage right there as Gengar goes for a Sludge Bomb into that Protect. So essentially just free chip damage all around, but, well, the Grassy Terrain is just going to make sure that Braviary doesn't get any.
Yeah, it's just chip on Braviary and nobody else.
And I guess you can't protect them the next turn, but...
Yeah, it means that Tapu Bulu is going to be pretty vulnerable there, having to worry about both Overheat and Brave Bird coming out. Not sure there's a safe switch in the back for that combination either. You know, you don't want to bring Volcarona into that combination.
Brave Bird
Tyranitar would be pretty
so
good to bring into that combination, but you're immediately then worrying about Superpower on the next turn. And if Joseph ends up making that prediction, expecting Tyranitar to come in, you've already seen it on turn 1, and just Superpowers into that spot, combined with like the Overheat to make sure Tapu Bulu still can't attack, that's a big problem too.
No switches at all. Volt Switch from that Manectric. Just going to try to switch out, save that Intimidate for later. That's going to be big against the Tyranitar and the Tapu Bulu. And Tapu Bulu is a Pokemon that is going to provide so much for Matthew, just that residual recovery. Trying to keep his Pokemon out on the field just a little bit longer could come in handy for him, as now Joseph has to try to decide what he wants to switch in here.
It's also going to be a great option against the Tapu Fini that's kind of been giving him trouble in both games. He's been relying on Gengar's offense to deal with it. Tapu Bulu is going to help in that regard.
Oh, Gengar goes for the Sludge Bomb here. It hits into that Braviary slot, so that Virizion gets to come in for free, essentially. And Braviary now using Brave Bird, targeting down that Tapu Bulu. Big damage. That should be the KO. It is, easily. I mean, Braviary is just doing so much work. It's getting so many KOs just with this Brave Bird. And that recoil damage does activate the berry, so that's one of the great things about Brave Bird and this Pinch Berry.
Yeah, a little bit less recoil, and Braviary would have been in Sludge Bomb KO range for the next turn. Now it's not, thanks to that Snarl, weakening both of these Sludge Bombs as they came out. And so that also is going to be helping Virizion. Really, really wouldn't want to take the Sludge Bomb before the Snarl. Afterwards, you're kind of maybe willing to take one in a trade.
It's already taken one, right? From
the
taken one
Virizion.
Snarl.
The Gengar, yes. The Gengar's taken one Snarl, hasn't restored that special attack since having
Virizion
to
actually has a
that.
pretty high special defense. It actually might be able to survive just this -1 Sludge Bomb.
Oh, I would expect it would be, yeah. It's still going to be a lot of damage, you're giving up a lot of that Virizion health, but if you're then able to get something like the Stone Edge off against Volcarona, that's totally worth it. Braviary likely can get the KO onto Gengar with Brave Bird at that health. Might be close, depending on how Gengar's trained, if Matthew's gone a little more defensive, like he sometimes does, but Gengar not the most bulky Pokemon. They're going to take a lot from that Brave Bird for sure.
Gengar protects itself, doesn't want to get KO'd just yet, trying to maintain that offensive output. Virizion going straight for the Stone Edge into that Volcarona slot, so much damage, that's the easy KO. 4 times weak from a 100 base power Rock-type attack, that's so much damage. And Braviary uses the turn to set up a tailwind, so Joseph just really flexing right now.
Control of the game, yeah. I mean, Matthew had 2 options of what to bring into that slot. He brought the Volcarona. The other option was the Tyranitar. Either of them is going to get one-hit KO'd by that Virizion, though. Either a Fighting Attack coming out and KOing that Tyranitar, or that Stone Edge coming out, outspeeding and KOing that Volcarona. He had very little he could do with that slot, maybe looking for an over-prediction from Joseph's side, expecting to protect Volcarona and trying to do something else that turn, and so tries to protect Gengar from whatever other attacks could be coming towards it, maybe trying to get something off with Volcarona. Instead, just gives up the Tailwind and the KO from Stone Edge.
And the board position.
And, I mean, it's just over now, yeah.
Matthew just has to forfeit. I mean, that was an easy 2 knockouts right there from Joseph. So Joseph, wow, taking such big advantage and being able to, he had all the pieces he needed in Game 1. It just came down to that Virizion Protect. But, Joseph actually played a little bit more aggressively in all the following games, and that was really just a way for him to overpower Matthew's defenses.
Yeah, I think the offensive matchups just worked out really well for Joseph. He had the right combinations, the Braviary with those 3 flying weaknesses on Matthew's side. That Virizion getting to go up with the added Stone Edge to make sure it could KO Volcarona, and then all the pressure it put onto Tyranitar anytime it was on the field, with Tyranitar being able to do almost no damage back to Virizion, having to worry about those fighting attacks. And then, of course, also Tapu Fini threatening those Moonblasts against both all of Hitmontop, Kommo-o, and Tyranitar. Just the right offensive Pokemon at the right times to really limit what Matthew could ever do.
Yeah, and of course, going into Game 2, I mean, Matthew has that obscure, I guess, the obscure Belly Drum Kommo-o Pokemon that I've never seen before, because it just has a better, right? You'd say it's a better setup option because it also boosts the speed, allowing Kommo-o to be able to outspeed things. So,
right, the speed boost and the damage on the turn that you set up would have been so valuable for Matthew.
And you don't have to sacrifice half your own health either.
And I don't think we ever actually saw a Z move from Matthew's side.
We never did,
in that game. I don't. Wouldn't have been the Black Hole Eclipse. We would have seen it against that Manectric. Likely.
Well, I mean, it didn't matter in the end, right?
Oh, but so barely. Maybe the Volcarona didn't really have an opportunity to ever go for a Fire MZ. If it did have it was always so pressured by that Braviary on the other side.
It was just so outsped by that Braviary.
Yes, it would have definitely been that, and just never had the opportunity to get it off. But.
Yeah, wow. That was a crazy set, though. That's just the first round, too. So there's more to come, right? Just like one of those infomercials, there's more. Right?
Yeah.
We'll there's still 6 rounds more, right?
Six more rounds. Awesome Pokemon here from Salt Lake City, Utah.
We're going to go take a quick break. Stay tuned, everybody.